Welcome to the City of Newark's Caribbean Commission segment, where we have been using this platform to inform, to engage, to educate, and to discuss policy items that we can recommend to the City of Newark. My name is Esther Lures, and I am the Public Relations Officer for the Caribbean Commission. So over the months, we have discussed some important topics, and today we're going to continue that conversation about art, creativity, and we have with us in studio Commissioner Bernard Rollins, who is no stranger to us. And I'll have him reintroduce himself because he's been missing in action for a few segments. And our expert guest is Mr. Gary Campbell, right? Creator and founder of The Artist Who Recreates the World. And he's going to tell you about himself shortly. But we just want to invite you to be a part of this conversation as we are gearing up to Caribbean Heritage Month. Art is a major part of who we are as the Caribbean community. And so we want to explore what's happening in the art scene here in Newark and to even pull that into the Caribbean and how we use that to showcase who we are. So we're going to start with Gary. Tell us who you are and how did you get intrigued to become an artist?
So thank you very much for the show. I love this show. I love Bernard. The conversation, I think, is so critical. And I love how the show has evolved to inform people. I've been an artist probably all my life. Started with the piano probably at 12, taking pictures at 15 years old. But it's only been like in the last 12 years here in Newark that I've really expanded my artistry. I've interviewed maybe 600 to 700 artists here in the Newark area since 2015. Gladys Gower, Jerry Gant, Rodney Gilbert, people that have been here on the ground, and so many others. Mainly, I've always been a visual artist, photography first, and now video. I've been working for the Newark TV station for 7 years. So that's a start. It's a broad story, but that's a start. And it's good to be on this show because it allows the viewers to see the connection of Newark residents and those in America and those also in the Caribbean, where we may be separated, but we're closely connected more than separated.
Definitely. I mean, he told you, right? He's a part of the Newark TV studio. So I am truly honored to have had the pleasure of working with Gary over all these episodes that we've recorded. And today, things just sort of fell in place. And we are here to go in depth into about who you are, because I also have seen your work, I've seen your artistry. And so when we think about art, right, there are different components to art. There's the visual arts, there's the performing arts, and even mention, writing, it's a form of art. How you speak, how you dress, there's some artwork. Spoken words, right? So there are different forms of art. And so what would you say are the, you talked about your photography and now video, like what would you say is the area that you are now intrigued by or would love to pursue more of?
I want a right to write or publish my second book. I've written it, but as you know, being an author yourself, that it changes, you change. And when you change some of those ideas that you had when you started the book, you kind of have to tweak them. So my second book, my first book was Where Are the Teachers in 2009, Zulon, where I talked about the lack of teaching in the evangelical church. My second book is Quality of Heart, And I still need, I have one chapter in there. The book is written, totally written, but there was, you have a chapter in there that you're not quite okay with. And sometimes you need time, you need meditation, prayer to kind of get to the place where you need to get. I think writing is so very important, more than any other art. Bernard, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, an artist needs space.
Yes.
That's one. An artist need a place where he can get, offer his outlet, or an outlet to amplify his voice,
Yes.
or his skill, his or her skill. And what I want to ask you, where is the space for the artist in Newark? If the space is available, how many artists are utilizing those spaces that are available? For example, you have the museum, you have Rutgers University, you have Essex County College, you have the library, the Newark Library. Artists, or an individual who is involved with the arts, for him to amplify his performance, he has got to have his own space. How does he get the space? He rents the space. How does he make himself known? You know about all these artists. You see them come on, spoken word. I can remember, I was involved with Voice of Verse, right? And it was a difficult thing getting space with Voice of Verse. We were here, there, and everywhere. How does the artist really make himself comfortable in public space, or a space that belongs to him or her?
See, that's why we love Bernard, because he gives us these challenging questions that we've done no research on. But that is a great question. And I will tell you, over the years, space is hard to come about. You can get your shows curated if you're connected to an Afero. If you're connected, we had Algira with Victor Dafson for so many years. It's about connectivity. There's more spaces becoming available to the artists now. Right now, we're in May 2023, and there's an excellent pop-up exhibit that is connected with the Harriet Tubman monument, and you have to go see it. That has been curated by Noel Williams, Lorraine Williams.
I thought I was once at Shabazz High School as a teacher, and there was a lot.
What do you mean there was a lot?
There was a lot taking place in the arts.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember her name, she's from Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is that when we look at what is taking place in Newark, the young people, I don't know if they don't want to be involved in the arts, or if the arts doesn't really accept or absorbs the ability to engage. But I think in that space that I'm talking about, I want to know the invitation. You invited yourself into a space and you were successful. But you mentioned Victor Dawson. You mentioned Victor Dawson. Victor is an independent artist. I know with Algira, right? Imam Mubaraka, Leroy Jones. I know, Komako Blues.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that, I don't know, the brother used to, Imam used to operate out of his basement.
Right.
So, and I'm saying is that, how,
where is the space?
Where is the space? I mean,
for artists.
Right, because I'm saying that you see this guy with this. He's always on the move. He pulling a trombone.
Right.
He's always on the move. He's actually homeless, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Because I talked to some of them, and I was involved in spoken word. I mean, in the Caribbean community, you still got stand-up poets and all that stuff. But the thing about it is that I'm still trying to, like tonight you can go out and hang out in a restaurant where you got a spoken word. The space has been created for him. He can go there. But I'm saying is that to me, like, it appears like there is none. You know, it's not visible.
So are there spaces
Well,
that promote?
Again, this is a good question, but it's a difficult question to answer. Because when you talk about the major institutions in JPAC, Prudential, they all have artistic space, but not readily available
For the ordinary art.
for everyone in the community. So this is the problem. This is what we were talking about earlier about community and the connectivity. Okay, and so when you have something like open mic. With the People's Open Mic, Mia X, that have been around for maybe 10, 15 years. They have gone from place to place. I remember when they were from place to place. Why? Because these are the people on the ground doing work. So NPL, Newark Public Library, have had tremendous events. But this is in collaboration with Newark Public Library. You have to know them. You have to know the curators.
Politics are they going?
Okay, that's the word. The community is so big here now that you have little pockets, and those pockets are the people that collaborate, or the people that become successful and get the funding and get connected. So to your answer, yes. The institutions, the art communities do embrace the artists, but the artists also have to reach out and embrace those communities.
So what happens if you ain't got no money?
Well,
You just earning to pay his rent.
Well, I'll use my story. In 2014, 2015, I didn't have money. I used some of my last pension money to get a Mac. Right? I took my Mac and I used the photo booth and I started interviewing artists. I would go right in Military Park when they rehabbed it and did it all over, put the Mac here, hold it up, and I would interview you. And I built and I learned about the community. What I'm saying is that people have to be creative. I'm not making an excuse for anybody. You as well as you know, in starting your book, you had to be creative to build the chapters and get it done. We have to be creative. We've always been creative. That is what opens the door. Whether that be the writing, in my opinion, there need to be more authors that need to document and talk about what's going on here, right? So people understand and they can see their window of opportunity. We don't know because either we don't reach out. We can't expect people from the top, wherever that top may be, to reach out and help us. We have to reach up and help ourselves.
I was going to sort of piggyback on the conversation that you started about the schools, right? So there's certain premise about, art versus tech and the ultimate outcome or the benefits, right? So people are more prone to promote certain subject areas over the others, not understanding the impact or that spiritual or, that.
We're talking about STEM.
Right.
Yes.
So how do we influence, whether it's family, culture, awareness, that it's important, right? The art is just as important as STEM or the benefits of encouraging your students and your children to study those subjects, right? Because there are some ultimate outcome, whether it's passion, whether it's, you can study STEM just to get the money, but on the other side, you're not happy, right? So how do you find that balance?
I think what interferes with the whole thing, there is distortion, there is overtones, and
I like those words.
yes. What I'm saying is that, look, you may be talking normal and you're being interrupted, so your voice cannot be heard. The artist's voice cannot be heard.
That's spot on.
Right. So my thing about it is what's saying is that he's got to fight. He's got to really Yeah, I see the artist as an individual fighting. I'm in tech. I'm a tech person. A lot of people don't know, and I don't let them know, and I don't get involved in it. Everybody just think. And I saw one of my friends' son makes produce beats, and I said, "Are you really serious?" He said, "Yeah, man, I make beats and I sell them." I was shocked. So he make beats out of his basement.
But isn't art where liberation is? I think Bob Marley.
No, you rightly said you got to try and
Right, but think of Bob Marley. The freedom, it's the freedom. And in this culture, and I was talking to Esther earlier, in this culture, our art tends to be in corners, in boxes, and it takes away the power. We put such focus on the aesthetic.
You got to be careful, Bob. Bob was humiliated. Bob was. Let me be honest with you. I read some stuff about Bob. Bob was humiliated into a corner because his father was white. His father was white and his mother was black, and they call him a half caste. And the pressure on him, he had to find a way into integrating himself into the black community and making himself what he's supposed to be. Rastaman vibration is that was not an easy thing for him.
But I don't argue with that point.
But no, I'm just trying to show you there are reasons why a lot of people are pushed into the arts.
And my point is that the art can explode and create the change in culture.
Right. But I like Bob.
Whether you have assistance from NJPAC, Prudential, Newark Arts, NPL, Newark Museum of Art, it doesn't matter. The young black boy or black girl in their basement, in their condo, in an apartment can create the art that explodes and takes over the world or speaks to
I would say,
especially with the use of social media, right?
But I wouldn't say it explode. I wouldn't say it would explode. From
Why not?
From the little listen.
What does Bob Marley music represent?
No, Bob had to be a part of a community, right? He had to engage.
Well, what are these kids?
He was absorbed into a group, right? And that group, you understand me? I think it was school, not church. But I think it's the Rastafarian organ. The Rastafarian.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact history.
His mother brought him to America, and then he went back home, and then he got involved.
So what role do you think education plays in this process?
I'm saying you got to be careful because everything for the black community originates out of the black church. It is the foundation. It lays the foundation for black development in America. In my case, it's my village. My village laid the foundation for me, right? Here, I will understand that the church plays an important part in black development, black politics, black economic, whatever you call it, right? Structure, city, whatever. The black church is always there supporting any cause. And the artists, most artists, get their start from out of the Aretha Franklin. I'll call all the names, and you'll see where the start was.
I have a question for you.
If they don't start, they go back there after.
How many artists are in the black church? In today's Sunday service, when you go into service, how many artists are in the church? I understand you saying the musician is coming out of the church, but the church, the black church.
The poets too.
Okay, all right. But what I'm saying, the artisan really doesn't come out of the church. Not in our culture.
Well, let me say today.
Okay, so if we go back to your point, right? So the art that we're talking about, right? It's not necessarily the musician. It's not necessarily, the person that's painting.
But the guide to the musician, the creativity of the individual, that guidance was coming from an individual who was grounded in in some kind of religious background.
Okay.
And I'm saying, Minister Farrakhan is an artist.
He is.
Can't run away from that.
He is.
Who was his mother? His mother whooped his behind, trust me. And she's from the Caribbean, and she was grounded in the church. He would tell you privately, he said, man, I had to listen. My father, let me tell you something. My father, on Sunday, 1 o'clock, we have to listen to the voice of Wallace D. Muhammad in Guyana. And it's not that we go to church, but the point is that 1 o'clock you had to be there listening to him.
But the dogma
And
is
Wallace
not,
to be more or less a poet.
but the dogma is not influencing the artist. What I hear you saying, what I am saying is that artistry and the institution of the black church does not support artisan. You don't go in your churches and see the artisan selling their wares and selling their stuff, because the dogma is based on the Bible, right? And what we saw what Jesus did to the money changers. See, that's our basis. In my
Jesus was a poet too.
Why? Oh, but see, you coming away from my point. My point is, we're talking about art and we're talking about artistry, and we wanted to expand, right? And if we wanted to expand, then we need to let that artist, he or she, expand, with or without the institutions, because they will. There's some artists right now, as we speak, that are expanding, whether they get help, whether they get funding.
The thing about it, take for example, look, let me show you. Let me share something with you. I read a lot. I try to follow Harry Belafonte, right? And when Harry came to this country, when his mother brought him here, right? He went back to Jamaica. Spent some time there, and then his mother brought him. This was during, I think it was World War I or World War II. I think it was, but he went into the war, and when he came back, he had problems. Sidney Poitier, these guys were very good friends. Harry and Sidney Poitier were very good friends, close friends, and you know where they used to? They used to hang out.
Tell us.
They used to hang out. I can't remember the theater, but anyway, he lived in Harlem. Sidney Poitier also that was the base for the Caribbean community. Harlem was the base. That was the starting point back in the day. My great uncle, Harlem, then he went to Chicago to study medicine. What I'm saying is that these guys who came here and made it big on the screen, like Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. They started in Harlem, and it was the theaters in Harlem that gave them the opportunity to really.
Right, but you're underscoring the point that I'm making. It is the art. It is the artist. It is the creativity of the artist. So here in Newark, it is the
It was a German who gave Harry a start. That German he had gotten.
Well, I guess what Gary's trying to say is that, regardless of the institutions, right? Whoever you are as a person, your artistry is what
Your skill
will eventually drive, right? So drive people's interests, drive people to incorporate what is it that you create into their, is that what you're trying to say?
Go ahead.
So it's not necessarily waiting on the institution. And you mentioned, my book a couple times. So yes, I did write a book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Called My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator. And it's, it was like a challenge for myself to see if I could do it. One, write a book. One, self-publish it. And so how do you as a person recognize your desires and act on those? Because you are committed to yourself, committed to improving yourself, committing to a cause, and how that can impact and serve others. So it's important. It's beyond like your artistry. Would you say that it's more than just Gary being creative, but it's about how Gary serves the community, how Gary serves
Very good point.
others.
Serves the community, and I'm transformed by listening to Bernard as an artist. right? He did set design today as an engineer, right? I'm transformed by you because now I know that you went through a process in writing, because your book was very different than your writing that you learned in school. So there's a transformation thing going on in our creativity that we want to tap into. Back to what you talked about earlier, that what is more important? Is STEM more important, or is it the art, or the exposure of the art, or the ability of people, old and young? Let's not forget old people, to tap into their creativity, because it is the creative spark that God gives us that creates the change in our culture, not only within ourselves, but also amongst others. We inspire others. Bernard inspires me. He challenges me. You challenge me. When I speak, I challenge others. Yes.
The young ones, the young up and coming artists. Where is his niche? I mean, who's looking out for him? How well he's going to make it? If NJ Park has got to pull him in, or the North Library's got to pull him in, or the North Museum's got to pull him in. How would the young artists?
That is the community. That's our Newark community. That's part of our Newark community. You have the Gant Gilbert building that just went up now, which is another facility, another institution that might not be recognized on certain levels, but this is, John Murray is a curator there. This is someone else who is pulling in artists. We interview artists every Tuesday. They call it Solo Dolo Tuesdays, where you have the local artists. I've interviewed Steve Green, Mia X, Ghost, Tobias Trevelyan. These are the forms we have to, it has to be self-reliance. It has to be self-sustaining. It has to be self-determined. Malcolm talks about self-determination, self-reliance. Yes, these institutions were there, but they weren't there thousands of years ago when we were just community. So they're here now. We can't totally lean on them. We have to be self-determined, self-reliant, and get all that we can from these institutions, but we have to grow and expand. I think I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but that's where I'm at, because I've learned so much from these artists, because they've showed me their window, they've showed me their lives, and it has impacted me.
So based on, you've interviewed, you said hundreds of 600?
Mm-hmm.
What are some advice, based on those that you've interviewed, what are some advice they've given to some upcoming artists?
Oh, you're going to love this. One thing is spirituality. They have to have the element of spirituality. And it doesn't necessarily mean a religious experience, but it may be a Eastern philosophy. It might be the Black Christian church, based on what they've been exposed to. More opportunities, what you talk about. They want more opportunities. They need funding.
You see, that's what I was going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
How does an artist, an up-and-coming artist, in a capitalist setting, what you put in, that's what you get out. And if you now getting started, and I got to buy you a guitar, and I can't afford to buy a guitar for you, or let me say you are a poet, and you got to get sung, you're a stand-up. You can't go in a restaurant and say you're going to do a stand-up comedy, and you got to get some kind of prop. You got to get some kind of support. I mean, and I'm saying is that
I would disagree with you.
Well, I don't know if you can elaborate and explain.
Well, I mean, you have. I'm thinking of Tyrese, who's saying, if you have a gift,
resourceful.
If you have a gift, you use your gift because people feel
So how
your
does the
gift.
person gain access? How do they access these public space.
Using your creativity. If you want to go to Harriet Tubman and do a YouTube of yourself, there's many stories you can tell. It's unlimited. But I think what limits us is the technology, and I will say again, culture, because we tend to mimic. We tend to do what other people do instead of tap into our creativity.
So are you saying then? You mentioned culture.
Mm-hmm.
If you said culture, then you're blaming the village or you're blaming the education system?
If I say, am I blaming?
You said culture.
Mm-hmm.
A part of our downfall or our.
I'm not blaming any.
No, somebody's got to be responsible for your upbringing or your personal development.
This is what we're dealing with.
So
even if you
is it
talk
being suppressed?
No. Even if you talk about indigenous cultures, they weren't perfect. There wasn't a utopia, right? But there's always a tweaking. And what my argument is that here we have to tweak. The artist has to tweak. You have to make it work for yourself and the community.
And there are, outside of those, institutions here in Newark that we have mentioned, the library, the museum, there are always organizations that provide funding or partnerships, right? There's the Newark Council and the New Jersey Arts Council, and they're always looking.
Money is there.
Yeah, so you just have to seek out those opportunities.
I love it. Seek and you shall find.
Yes.
You got to do the work.
So so you're saying the money is there? How does the artist stumble upon the on the
Is
dump
there like
or
a
the
central?
I don't think you stumble. You can start at Newark Arts.
Newark Arts. Where's
Yes.
Newark Arts?
You can go online.
For the man who doesn't have a
website.
laptop or a computer, or
You go to the library. There's plenty of free computers there. So it's those things, and it's a show again like this that if you have that question, that this is answered now. So now you go to the library, you use the computers, you go in the stacks.
so Newark Arts is an establishment. This comes under the city or under the state or under the county. Who's responsible?
Newark Arts. That is a question I can't answer
It's a
clearly.
nonprofit organization,
Yeah,
but there is
right.
the New Jersey
Performing arts.
Arts Council
Mhm.
that helps to
Right,
support.
which is larger, which is the
Yeah,
state. Yes,
the
that's
state
true.
level.
But they're there.
So for folks, I mean, this is a Caribbean Commission show. And let me say, well, I'm now coming in and I'm an artist and I want to get involved in what's taking place here. I want to get into the space, the arts space in Newark. Where do I start? The Arts Council?
Yeah, I would go there. I would go also to Newark Public Library and check out some of their events because they have loads of artists. Newark Museum of Art, loads of artists. If you reach out, the answers are there. But if you stay within yourself, there's a limitation, restriction.
And I'm going to add Newark Happening, which is an organization that helps to track what's happening in the city.
Yes.
So, programs, events, right? Seek out events that are happening. You might be asked to volunteer at these events, show up pro bono and give your service, and people
Right.
will hear your talent or see your work from you just volunteering or giving your service for free sometimes. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
It is about the connectivity. Who can we bring in to inform the people and show that we're closer together than separated.
Because of the fragmented community, because of a fragmented community with everyone fighting to make sure that my voice is being heard, So.
I have to get my shine.
Right, the
Right
fragmentation
Yes.
tends to interfere with the ordinary man at the bottom, whether he be Hispanic or Caribbean or a man from Africa. I can remember Kabu. You know Kabu?
No.
Caboose from Ghana, passed away, right? And I think he used to occupy a space here at Newark Symphony. And he was part of the poetry, he was into the spoken word, Raz and all of them.
So mentioning, not to cut you off, but I know we are probably way over time because we had a very heated discussion. And since you mentioned Raz just now, so if you've ever heard our mayor speak, he himself is an artist, in his family, his mom, his dad, and so when we talk about art, we're talking about the spoken words, we're talking about the painting, we're talking about the performances. And so the Newark community is here and vibrant, and you, the Caribbean community, if you have interest in exploring your art, in developing your art, please reach out to Gary. He is a great resource. We will share his contact information. Gary Campbell, founder of The Artist Who Recreates the World. He's on YouTube. Reach out to the Caribbean Commission. My name is Esther Lors again, the Public Relations Officer under the Office of International Relations and Diaspora Affairs, where Deputy Lygia De Freitas, Deputy Mayor Lygia De Freitas, is the Deputy Mayor, and the rest of the Caribbean Commission. Commissioner Rollins, thank you for being a part of this.